This is Empty the Bench with Tom Albano.
If Adam Silver does little with this, and an incident happens where Ja Morant is involved, and there's something bad that happens where somebody nearly dies or does die, I think that blood's on Adam Silver's hands.
Nick Morgasen.
My mind is blown that Adam Silver is basically saying, I was shocked about this second incident. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Adam Silver? What do you mean you're shocked? He did this before, and you gave him and you slapped him on the wrist. How about we take Adam Silver and suspend him all of next year and see how he likes it?
Empty the Bench starts now.
Roger Goodell looks at that bottom line and just says, it's all about the money, money, money. It's all about the money, money, money. Go get me a Jessie J song and that lyric where they just say it's all about the money, money, money. It's all about the money, money, money. I know I would look like a fool, but I don't care. That's my point. It's all about money.
I'm sorry, what is it about?
It's all about the money! Damn right it is! Welcome to episode...
Playing. Oh, wait, hang on, Ann. There we go.
There we go. Welcome to episode 185 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Tom Albano, Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow across the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Please go hit the subscribe button and help us grow. ETBpodcast.com for all your blogging content and needs. Also, we have a new show that we will announce at the end of the show. You might have seen a little bit of social media going around for that. We'll get more into detail about that at the end of the episode. All right, so we have a lot to get into. Unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about Ja Morant again, because this story never, ever ends.
Yeah, scary kind of situation going on with Ja Morant, now in multiple ways with some concerning social media posts. We're going to talk about near retirement, or retirement tease, should say, at the start of the show, and then we're going to talk about an actual retirement with Carmelo Anthony bidding basketball farewell after 19 seasons. We're going to have a welcome back story as well with basketball. Brittney Griner playing her first WNBA games in 2 years. We're going to go over all the passages and turn downs that revolved around the NFL owners meeting. Flexing for Thursday Night Football is approved with certain conditions. No alternatives to the onside kick. Kick off fair catches at the 25-yard line. And the 2025 draft and Super Bowl 60 now officially have home. So we'll get into all that, as well as Tom Brady, now apparently an owner, or a minority owner.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, we all know the incident that happened with Miami where he basically tried to get into the ownership game, and basically that got the Dolphins' pick suspended for the first round of the NFL draft. So this is not the first time he's smelled the ownership role before.
Ben Roethlisberger's interesting comments to Kenny Pickett. Update to a story we talked about recently with Glen Kuiper, the broadcaster for the A's. Now let go. And also let go. Here is a local story. One Aaron Hicks, who was the longest tenured Yankee until his DFA'ing, which now the longest tenured Yankee is Aaron Judge. Which feels weird to say. Very weird to say.
Are we really surprised that Aaron Hicks is finally gone from this team? I mean, he is going to make $20 million, even though he's not on this team anymore. But it is what it is. But we have a lot to get into. We'll start right off the top with LeBron. And
so let's give some context here. So the night we're recording this, actually, I think tip-off has just happened as we started recording Game 5 between the Celtics and Heat. So as of the time we're recording, we have no idea what's going on. We're going to follow the game. maybe by the time we're near the end of this recording, we have a better idea if the Heat are going to complete it to make it a Nuggets Heat final. Obviously, Lakers Nuggets is done. That was a clean sweep. Uh, so we're not going to do a full recap and preview. We will do that next week on ETB, where we'll recap these conference finals and we will preview the NBA finals. Because actually, I think our next episode is going to be the day of game one, the afternoon right before game one of the finals.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think that's game one. And unfortunately, now that we have the NBA finals over 3 weeks, because the NBA has to be the king of stretching storylines, we'll pretty much have two.
But at least that means like one night we can watch the NBA finals, next night we can watch the NHL finals, and there's always something on.
Well, no, that was good, I guess, from the standpoint of you don't have to compete with both games on the same night.
Especially when it's owned by the same network now.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting because at least when they were on separate networks, you kind of could control if things were on the same night. Now you're on TNT and ESPN at the same time.
Well, for the finals, you mean for both the Stanley Cup finals and NBA finals, they'll both are on ABC.
Well, yes, right. They're both technically on ABC and ESPN for the finals, which is crazy if you think about it, because ESPN was not even they weren't even sniffing hockey like the last couple of years before they made this deal. So I don't know. You know what? ESPN's making a lot of content, even though they're making a lot of news with more unfortunate cuts. But we'll save that for another day. But to get to this headline, LeBron teasing retirement. I was watching the end of Game 4. By the way, the Lakers had no chance in this series. They just completely fell apart. Denver, in my opinion, I think might win the NBA Finals title. I think they might win this year.
That would be quite the story. And I mean, you would think, Nick, after the way they played against the Grizzlies and the way they played against the Warriors, that the Lakers would have put on a better showing, but they just completely fell apart.
They fell apart. They're the oldest team in the NBA.
They choked the lead in the last game.
Well, they choked the lead quite a few times in the first couple of games. I mean, when you didn't win on your home court, that was pretty much the end of them. So Jokic is just unbelievable. I think he took that non-MVP to heart in the NBA playoffs. That goes to show you that the MVP doesn't mean as much as it normally means, and like what needs to happen going forward to really have a motivation. Your motivation is to win a title, not to win an individual award. So that's what's most important. I mean, you could win a million MVPs. Hi, James Harden. And if you don't win a title, no one cares. Now he wants to go back to Houston or over to Phoenix, where the cavalcade of the circus is happening.
That is going to be if James Harden actually goes to Phoenix, that team is gonna become to our show for the NBA what the Broncos are to the NFL to our show. We're going to have some sort of Suns country let's ride or something.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious. I mean, don't get me wrong. Excuse me. They are going to be a super team for the first time since probably the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat.
Yeah, but you look at all the players on that potential Suns team with Harden there. That's
the ego.
The Phoenix Chokers.
I was going to say the choking boys or the choking gang, whatever you want to call it. But will it be a star-studded team? Yes. If you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, Devin Booker. I don't know if I could really consider Chris Paul a star anymore. That's kind of debatable at this point. Chris Paul has to be healthy and make it all the way through to the end. That's number one. It would be nice if he actually was healthy. That team probably goes forward, because he's the leader, the catalyst of that team.
But we also have seen Harden play and just not deliver. So I can't necessarily say a healthy Chris Paul will help balance that out.
I mean, James Harden is really more, and we'll talk about this guy a little bit later, but Melo. Him and Melo kind of had the same attitude when it came to playing in the NBA, where they kind of were there for the money, as you heard me say in the intro of this episode. Melo was, yes.
Oh, I didn't turn the loop off from the beginning.
But why do you think Melo came to New York? Melo wanted the business deals. He wanted to be part of New York Fashion Week. He wanted to be part of all these things.
He wanted to be part of a major city franchise, an A city franchise.
Now, I think originally he grew up in Brooklyn, or actually he grew up in Baltimore, born in Brooklyn, just wanted to be back in New York.
So there was a homecoming element to it.
Right. Now, I give Melo a lot of credit. We'll get to the, you know what? I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But LeBron teasing retirement. It's the biggest load of BS I ever heard in my life. He's not going to walk away after his team just got ousted 4-0 in the Western Conference Finals.
So I'll say what I just told you before we started recording. If this was most other situations where you have a big name but kind of on his way out, 20 years in the league, September will mark or October will mark the anniversary of his debut in the NBA for 20 years ago. And most other circumstances, especially with the kind of career that LeBron has had and the way that he carried the Lakers on his back towards this semifinals appearance, most other situations, I would say, yeah, I buy it, and maybe it is time to bow out. I don't know, like you said, if LeBron, after being swept by the Nuggets and having the kind of performance that the Lakers have, I don't know if that's the way he's going to want to go out. That's number one. Number two, we've talked about on this show before. He has talked about the plan that he wants to play in the league just 1 year, where in the same league, he and his son Bronny are going to play.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to be in the league with his son. I mean, the only other situation I can really compare this to is Griffey Sr. and Griffey Jr. in baseball when they both played in Seattle. Now, baseball, it's kind of a rarity because, again, you don't usually get the age closeness that you do in baseball, that you do in the NBA.
And baseball, you've got multiple stages of minor leagues that you don't have in the NFL or the NBA. NHL, you have a little bit, but maybe not as deep as, say, MLB.
Right. I agree with you. And also, I think the bloodline probably had something to do with that. Like, Griffey Sr. was a great player. Griffey Jr. was going to be a good player. That kind of maybe pushed him up through the ranks a little bit quicker than any other player today. I mean, look at Toronto with the Blue Jays. How many different sons are on that team? You have Calvin Biggio,
Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's a second generation team, basically.
Like, that was fascinating. Like, when I was down in Toronto, just seeing those three guys, I'm like, wow, this is all second generation playing on one team. And I'm like, wow. Like, and by the way, I think Junior is better, and I think will be a better hitter than his father in the long run over his career.
I could see that, and it's kind of scary because it's not just, it's personally speaking, it's not just that these are second generation athletes. Those three in Toronto, Bronny coming up, but I mean maybe it's just Nick, Father Time catching up to all of us because these are the sons of people that we have watched playing. Craig Biggio, the original Vladimir Guerrero Sr.,
Bichette, yeah.
Bichette, LeBron. Like we're coming to a time where all the guys that we watched growing up are now their sons are coming into the big four of sports. And Nick, I don't know about you, but I feel like I should put a grandpa filter on my face because I'm getting very old.
I know, I feel old too. I mean, think about it. Like, when Derek Jeter, like, we all grew up watching Derek Jeter, like, all those years making those runs. Now it's weird seeing him in Miami watching the game for the conference finals. And I'm like, wait, whoa. Like, I remember Derek when he was still playing in the league. Now he's like, what, 44, 45 years old now? Like, it's crazy.
Something like that.
But I don't know. This is a load of BS from LeBron and everyone sure he's not going to walk away after losing 4-0. Now, his team, let's be honest here, the Lakers should not have made it this far. In every way, shape, or form, the Lakers should not have made it this far. They faced a Grizzlies team where now again, this is a fallacy of a predetermined outcome of what I'm about to say, but if Ja Morant plays, I think that series goes different. I do.
I mean, I thought Ja did play, but maybe he just didn't play on the kind of level that he that you would have thought.
I think with all the distractions, I think it just was not there mentally, to be
I
honest.
mean, yeah, I don't think he was there mentally. I don't know if anybody on the Grizzlies was there mentally in that first round series.
And Johnny made a good point on Game On, and like we discussed it a lot. Seeds are just a number when it comes to the playoffs. If you think about it,
I think on the East Coast, the Miami Heat are the perfect example of that. They're about to be an eight seed in the NBA Finals.
I don't
So
remember the last time that's happened. To be quite honest, actually,
I think it might have to be the 98-99 Knicks.
but that's what I'm saying. It's been that long since we've seen an 8 seed in the finals. That's why, of all the playoffs, if you look at them, the NFL, the seeds are pretty accurate. When you're a top seed in the NFL, you're pretty much going to go far.
I mean, but we've seen go far, but maybe not go all the way. We've seen exceptions. The Rams Bengals. I think I've said that was a 4 seed versus a 4 seed.
Right, but for the most part, you have an advantage in the NFL when you're a higher seed.
Yeah, yeah.
In the NBA, like I've seen that get thrown out a bunch of times where the lower seeds are making it a lot further. They may not make it to the end, but they're making it a lot further than they should. A 7 and an 8 seed this year made it to the conference finals.
Well, remember what I talked about on the quarter when the second round hit? I said there was the 8 teams. It was a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, all the way down to an 8 seed. There was one of each seed, which is kind of nuts. Hockey on the NHL side, both the top seeds in the conferences went out first round. This has been a wild playoff, which I mean, on one hand, makes the fact that we have a sweep and what potentially could be a near sweep pretty disappointing. But at the same time, goes to, there are elements to it. It shows how the Nuggets, despite all the concerns about them, potentially not delivering, they came through and delivered. And like you said, Jokic kind of trying to make the point of maybe he should have been a back-to-back MVP. And then you've got the Miami Heat, which again goes to show quite a few things. Number one, how Jimmy Butler might be the MVP of this postseason. It just in general, not just in a specific round, because of the way he's been playing out of his mind. The fact that Eric Spoelstra, you know, all these, you think of all those times, where the Miami Heat, when LeBron and the Big Three were there, and then they leave, and Spoelstra has kept that team afloat, kept them around in postseason. They got to the finals just a couple of years ago. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the NBA, ever in the modern era. And number three, just the amount of depth and the amount of great talent on that Heat team. Yeah, like you kind of alluded to, that they are an in seed only. Like that is their seed, but they are not an 8 seed.
Well, I give Johnny 100% credit on that because he's the one that really proved that point out. For the Miami Heat, when you look at guys like Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, who, by the way, who the hell is he? Not offending him in any way, but like he's come out and played like a beast so far and kind of taken down the Celtics. I don't know, but it's just crazy, like the way these situations happen. And like I said, MVP could be a motivator. MVP could not be a motivator. Let Joel Embiid have the MVP award. I could care less. Who's in the NBA Finals right now? Denver. and
that's the thing. Like, I think LeBron still is going to want to chase, while he's still got contract for next season. After that, he has, he's still under contract technically, but he has the opt-out, and my feelings. I think, the fact that he has an opt-out in the same time frame that Bronny Jr. is about to get drafted, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he'll opt out, and he'll go wherever Bronny Jr. gets drafted just to play with his son one season. Maybe you think with somebody like LeBron, he's going to want to be in an LA, a Chicago, in New York, a major city, or back home in Cleveland, or even back in Miami. I don't know if necessarily that for that season it's going to be that much of a case, because I think the point of that season, which I think would be at 24-25, would just be to play with his son, and then he'll, after that one season, he'll bow out.
Now, my question is, if it's someone like a Pelicans or the Sacramento Kings.
Oh God.
Now let me be careful though. Because the Sacramento Kings are becoming a much better team
They
than I
turned around
realized.
this season. They turned it around. They ended up losing in the first round and still have a lot to prove. But
do you really think he's going to want to go make home for a season in Sacramento or New Orleans? By the way, New Orleans is a decent place to live, but does he want to do that?
Well, let me turn the question on to you, Mr. NBA. Do you think he will try to force his hand? Because remember, if he's going to want to play with Bronny, that means he's partially controlling Bronny Jr.'s career. Do you think he's going to want to be such a hands-on father that he kind of messes a little bit with his son's career? Now, somebody like a legend like that little influencer too, but there's a difference between just a little bit of influence because your dad is a Hall of Fame NBA father, because LeBron will go to the Hall of Fame one day, first ballot
Oh,
without question,
that's not a doubt.
versus a LeVar Ball.
Oh God, don't even mention that name to me anymore. Ugh. First of all, he's disappeared into the deep
I know.
wide abyss.
I understand. My point was, if he's gonna, you're saying, oh, he's concerned about, well, if he'll play in a city like a New Orleans or Sacramento, some throwaway city in Minnesota, but do you think he's gonna want to mess with Bronny Jr.'s career so much, especially when he's just gonna start to make his debut and everything?
I mean, I don't think he'll be as bad as the Ball family. No one could be as bad as LeVar
No,
Ball and that
absolutely
family.
not. I was just making an example. That was all.
Right. And like I said, if he's desperate enough to play with his son, maybe he will go to Sacramento, or maybe he'll go to New Orleans, or I don't know. Well, actually, the one that'll really put him to the test. What if Bronny Jr. ends up in Orlando?
Hmm.
That would be interesting in every regard. If Bronny Jr. ended up in Orlando, are you going to go play in Orlando for a season?
I think I think, Nick, this is going to sound crazy, especially when we were just ranting and raving over the last month about Mark Cuban and the Mavericks and the tanking. I think the bottom of the NBA standings is going to be just as interesting to watch in this coming season as the top.
I could see that.
Just for the fact that it's Bronny Jr.
Well, yeah, because it's basically the LeBron James Senior for LeBron James Jr. lottery sweepstakes. But I feel like, and I know this is a massive story, and LeBron, like, for the draft, the headline should be on Victor Wembanyama coming out of France and
Oh,
going
yeah.
to the Spurs. Like, we're talking about a 7'4", I think they said, power forward, who, by the way, is thinner than a Yao Ming, which is incredible, by the way.
And now he gets to play, because let's face it, he's going to get drafted number 1 overall. He is going to play for a franchise, a historical franchise like the San Antonio Spurs.
He lucked out.
And getting coached under Greg Popovich. You could say that the Spurs lucked out, and you could say, oh, conspiracy, but I mean, think about it from the perspective of Victor Wembanyama, in that look at that legendary name and all those legendary influences, because obviously the big three, San Antonio, will still have those influences like Allen and such. And just imagine like being mentored by those three and being mentored by Papa. Like, that is an unbelievable start to your career. Like that is the potential setup for, superstardom.
I mean, I could see like a Tim Duncan or
Duncan.
oh my God, the one
Manu
before Duncan.
Ginobili.
No, but before Duncan, big man, Robinson.
Robinson,
Really like coming in and mentoring this guy and really putting him to task early and having a like Hall of Fame career with Hall of Fame influences early. Like, I know like Pop is towards the end of his career coaching wise. Popovich, like, he's got to be up there in age. He's got to be in his 70s if I had to take a guess. Like, I think he's going to be around another 3 to 4 years now because of a guy like Victor Wembanyama. Like,
74.
how much?
74.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought he was a little bit older than that, but I think he'll be around another 4 or 5 years because of that now, at least.
Just because of the opportunity to coach who could be the next generation of super. Like, I think these next couple of draft classes between Bronny between Wembanyama is going to be very interesting and quite potentially pivotal for the NBA. We might be looking out, like we talk about how the LeBrons of the world are moving out in favor of the Giannis's, the Jokic's, like those guys who are just young and now moving into the face of NBA debate. They're going to be giving way to in the young stars, the Bronnies, the Wembanyama's. Like this could be next gen. This could be a next gen draft class to watch out for. 23, 24, and 25.
I mean, people are saying that that it's possible that Wembanyama could be bigger than LeBron coming out of high school, which I would hold the phone on that statement because that's a pretty large statement and shoes to fill.
And I should watch my words, especially because we're talking about Carmelo Anthony coming up.
Yeah.
That 2003 draft class with Melo and LeBron and all
And
that.
Wade.
Wade, that was historical. And I don't know if we'll see anything like that in our lifetime again.
Never. You will never see a draft. I think Bosch was in that one too, if I'm not mistaken. That will always 2003 will always be historical from the standpoint of an NBA draft. One, because the rules were different that you could come right out of high school at that point. You have to play at least, well, it's not really 1 year, it's one semester of college if you think about it. But the rules are different. You didn't have NILs back then. So maybe some student athletes will stay longer in college because of the NIL deals. But
I mean, my point was just that draft class. That's one of, if not the best draft class, not just in the NBA, but all of sports. That is.
I would say all time. I would say all time that draft will always stand number one, in my opinion. Just the way that draft class fell. You're not going to see that many guys that come out. And we look at LeBron, Wade. I don't know. I guess Bosch won a title with them. So, like, you have 3 title guys right up in the top. Melo never won a title. I think he's got to be up there as one of the highest drafted and not to win a title.
Mm-hmm. Listen to these names: LeBron, Carmelo, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, David West, Josh Howard's in there.
Still decent veteran players too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heck of a draft class. Like, it's tough to beat. I mean, but hopefully Wembanyama doesn't become Greg Oden, where
also for 03, Mo Williams, Kyle Korver. Those were second round guys. Those were near the end of the draft.
And Korver had a decent career too. I mean, he was 3-point specialist. Him and JJ Redick, who now works for ESPN, I think doing way better over there. But like JJ and Korver were both amazing role guys. You don't just have to be a star to have a long career. I think Korver played like close to 15, 16 years and Redick about the same.
Kendrick Perkins was also in this class. I forgot.
He's always an interesting guy to me because he really wasn't an offensive guy. He's more of a defensive tough guy. And I mean that in a nice way, not in a mean way. Like, I think he was on the Celtics team that won with the big 3 with Doc Rivers. But no, 2003 will be tough to beat. But just to wrap go ahead.
I was going to say, so let's wrap this one up. And I think since we're on the fact of the 03 class, I think we just go into the Carmelo story at this point.
Yeah. So basically, if you didn't hear the news, Carmelo Anthony officially retires after 19 seasons. Melo actually got like 3 or 4 extra seasons that he probably shouldn't have gotten because, again, he was a shooter. And that's what Carmelo Anthony was, a shooter, a consistent shooter. Now, when you look at his career, there was a lot of rumors and speculation going around that would his number be retired at MSG. And I said, hold the phone. Hold on. One, he never won a title with the Knicks. If he had won a title with the Knicks, I would say, okay, you got my attention. He won a title at MSG. Then you can retire his number there. Because even Ewing, who got his number retired, never won a title with the Knicks.
Yeah.
So you would have to automatically elevate him there if he had won a title. But never won a title. I don't think they even made a conference finals either.
No, they made it to 1 second round. That was the team of 2012-13 where they had Melo, they had Kidd,
Was that the J.R. Smith incident also?
J.R. Smith incident. You say
No,
J.R. Smith incident, I think of the 2018 NBA Finals with LeBron.
no. Well, that was bad. But I'm talking about like where he threw the ball away, or he did something that got him suspended with the Knicks and in the playoffs, I think, and that cost them the playoff run. But Melo was always, I think I've said this to you before, he was never A plus star.
He
He
was an
kind
A
of
star, I think.
he was like an A minus B plus star. He
I
could
wouldn't say B+.
score
I'd say A minus.
because he could score. That was never an issue with Melo. Melo could give you 30, 40, sometimes 50 on certain nights. If he's having a good shooting night, I've seen him put up 60. But he couldn't play defense at all. That was a problem.
The only question I have about that is sometimes with the NBA, it's especially like these days, sometimes defense unfortunately doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Much. So that's the part that makes you question, going to the B plus is that the defense just doesn't really. It's more not a Carmelo thing. It's more of just a league thing. Oh, by the way, 2013, he got suspended one game in the first round with the Knicks and the Celtics for throwing an elbow.
That was it. Okay.
I'll say the other thing that I was thinking of was obviously the LeBron thing and the NBA Finals of 2018, and when he you were saying he threw something March 2018, a few months before that, when he threw the can of soup. Got suspended.
Yes. Yes, I remember that. But
Hey, J.R.
Melo,
Smith turned it around, and he's a very was a successful golfer when he returned to college, and
I think he
I
got his
congrat-
degree too, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
he was very smart. So
Yeah, so you know what? Kudos, success. He figured it out. But Melo had a really good career. He just like the breaks just did not come. Like he was on a Denver team that was kind of up and down for many seasons when he was down there. Different point guards. Um, I don't know. Did he play with AI? I don't remember. I think he did, right?
I want to say yes. When did Allen Iverson spend time with the Nuggets? That was.
I'm
I'll
looking
have to
that up
look that
now.
up because I was
2009, 2010, it looks like.
yes, then yes, because that was towards the end of Melo's run in Denver. Just to throw out, by the way, uh, some of his like statistics. So 8 seasons with Denver, 7 seasons in New York, the couple seasons in Portland, the bouncing around with Oklahoma City and
The
the
Lakers,
Lakers and Houston. Uh,
Portland.
1,260 games, 22.5 points per game average, total rebound average 6.2 per game, 2.7 assists per game. Let's see if I want to try. Okay, this is all per game. I
Do you
was
have
trying to find the total.
career total points?
That's what I was looking for. Okay, totals. Here we go. So totals in 1,260 NBA games, and he started 1,120 in them, playing for 43,514 minutes.
Damn,
Field goal percentage of 447, 1,731 three-pointers, three throws, total 63-20 for 77-64.
that's not bad.
Let's see, where's
The big one,
total
yeah,
rebounds in his career, 7,808. 3,422 career assists, 1,223 steals, 644 blocks. Total points scored in his career, 28,289 with 2 triple-double games.
that's got to be up there in the top 10, I would think. 28,000 points.
I
I
was
can
going to
look
say
that up.
that those numbers have to put Carmelo Anthony, like I said
Oh
with
no,
LeBron, as the first ballot Hall of Famer.
he's automatic for the Hall of Fame.
First
No
ballot.
doubt. First ballot. 28,000 points. Yeah, that's definitely. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Carmelo is 9th all time NBA points.
Which
So I was
again,
right. He was in the top 10.
speaks to the insanity that, for all the seasons that he played and how much of a star he was, he never won a championship. And he only made it, I think, one or two conference finals.
Yep.
He made a conference final, I think, 08-09 with the Nuggets and the
With the
Lakers.
Nuggets, yeah.
Is that
And
the only time? I think there might have been a second time as in
I
Denver.
think it was twice. But to be top 10 all time in NBA scoring, that's first ballot Hall of Famer right there. Again, scoring prowess, he was number one pretty much in the league. Now, unfortunately, when you have to deal with LeBron and like guys like LeBron, Wade, Dirk, who won a few titles, Shaq, you have many guys ahead of you. That was the problem. That's why he didn't win. How many conference finals? He had one conference finals appearance.
Oh, the 08-09, which is kind of, I'd say now that's not. I say it's disappointing, but I'm not saying fault. Like not. I mean, did you think about again the 28,000 career points that he had and all he did for Denver and really all he did for New York too, playing alongside the likes of Amari Stoudemire and that one season with Jason Kidd. You think of all that he did, and he only managed to get to one conference final. And
He,
unfortunately, the Nuggets that year ran into the Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol 08-09 Lakers.
who ended up winning.
Yeah.
But when I look at Melo, he was because the Knicks, especially Knicks fans, which you're a part of in this sense, New York struggled to get stars to come to New York and still have to this day. Carmelo Anthony was the only one who willingly came to New York and said, I'm willing to play here. Amari Stoudemire didn't want to play here. I know he signed the contract. The Knicks overpaid and then they paid for it. No pun intended. But and didn't he also punch a fire extinguisher glass, if I'm not mistaken? Also, Amari Stoudemire.
Is
I don't
that
know why.
Amari with the fire extinguisher? It might have been. Yeah, it was.
Why do I remember all the bad things that happens to these guys? But Melo will always be remembered for wanting to be with the Knicks. Always. He was the leader. He was the scorer. And the Knicks had guys like as part of that trade, if I remember correctly, like Wilson Chandler,
Mhm.
Danilo Gallinari, who actually wasn't a bad player. He's another
He's
one of those
another
guys that played a bunch, just never really won anything.
And and also you think, and I know like the last couple of years, like I'm not just talking about him bouncing around the league, but the last couple of years, even New York. I mean, I gave him a lot of crap. He was given a lot of crap, but like I said, it doesn't, spoil all the years that he had between Denver and New York, the 28,000 points. And let's face it, uh, Nick, he put up with a seriously shitty front office situation playing under Dolan those first couple of years where Phil Jackson was the president of operations.
He
He was
basically, wait a minute, he basically threw Carmelo out of New York, if you think about it.
yeah,
He basically said, I don't want to deal with your shit anymore, and threw him out.
and Carmelo basically towards the end of all that drama taking a stand of if I'm gone, Jackson's gone too. And guess what? That happened. Jackson got dismissed not long after Carmelo left.
That was, I never understood the connection. Like Melo being the star, Phil Jackson being the fake GM, because really he didn't do much. He never was even in New York, for crying out loud. He's basically doing it from his ranch, like in Missouri or Iowa or wherever he was. And that was a
Well,
disaster. I remember, yeah.
thankfully, Lightning hasn't struck twice with Tom Thibodeau as coach because Tom Thibodeau has been actually delivering as a head coach here in New York.
I mean, again, I don't know if that's the 100% perfect fit. Is it better? Yes, because Thibodeau will always be a more dedicated coach than Phil Jackson was in the front office.
Mm-hmm.
But
But again, more proof to show you between the NFL and the NBA. Just because you make a good head coach doesn't mean you're going to make a good executive.
I can't even think of many. The only one I can think of is Lawrence Frank, who was the Nets head coach and was an assistant for many years, and then became an executive in the Clippers organization. Is still doing it quite well. But again, good career for Melo. Fortunately, he didn't win. Melo also falls. I was looking on Twitter the other day, and I can't remember the name of that account. I really wish I could give them credit because it was interesting that he got into the investment game early with different businesses and he's going to be fine. He will be fine. A lot of today's players, as opposed to the ones back in the day, didn't do what today's players do, or even just ones that came up in the 2000s, getting more involved in an investment. And I see Melo with all these Series A funds and getting involved and everything. These guys are going to be fine. He's
Yeah,
made like he's got like $500-600 million.
well, I was gonna say it's sponsorships too, and dare I say, if there was ever a time where somebody, a company like an ESPN or a TNT wanted to bring him on and do something, even if not a full time role, just bring on to have a segment, he would do that too. I'm just certain.
You know what's scary? I could see him doing like a Kevin Garnett type thing on TNT, like having the separate room where they put him in with other players. Like Melo would actually be entertaining to probably listen to from a standpoint of like the game. I always thought KG was interesting when he had the swear button that he would use to press every time. But Melo had a good career. It would have been a great career if he at least won one title, but he'll always go down as one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. Obviously, he's not the greatest. You have guys like LeBron who broke the scoring record, which, in my opinion, it's a lot easier to break the scoring record now than it was way back when. But because these guys are playing more minutes longer, staying in games longer, and it is what it is. But Melo had a good career.
Mm-hmm. All right. From all the positive, from all the talk about players and legacy, we now move to a player of today who's in quite the messy situation. So we talked about all last week about the second Ja Morant gun Instagram live, a video incident, and now a couple of concerning Instagram stories have led to Las Vegas police doing a welfare check on Ja Morant. So let me try to go through the story as best I can. Correct me on any details or fill me in on any details that I'm missing. So Ja Morant posted over the last couple of days to Instagram stories. It was a section. It was like a series of pictures. One of which was of his mom with a blue heart saying "Love you, mom." Another was a picture of his dad, blue heart, "Love you, dad." And one was a picture of his little sister, blue heart.
No, his baby girl.
Oh, his baby girl. Sorry, his baby
Yeah.
girl. Uh,
But I mean, it's still the same difference. It's
sorry.
still family and
And
kids.
then the series ends with a photo of Ja being interviewed on a TNT broadcast, and in the caption for the photo, it just says "bye." Now,
Yeah,
those
this was
family
bizarre.
those family photos ended up getting deleted rather quickly. The one with the him being interviewed and with the caption "bye" stood up a little longer.
Yeah, so I saw these all going around over the past day or two from when we're doing this recording, and I was just like, "What the hell is that?" Like, and Morant is already on the shit list for waving a gun twice. Go back and watch our last couple episodes. You can catch up on everything we talked about on Morant. Like, I hate to say this, but this is not good. Whatever it is, and I doubt that I basically gave you two scenarios before we started. It's either a cry for help.
Which you never want to see it as a I'm thinking of, very bad, dark, drastic things, but you want to pray in this kind of situation that this is the point where, like we said, Morant is kind of recognizing that he needs help, and this is, as you said, the cry for it at this point.
Well, I gave you two scenarios, and again, we're very honest on this show, so we talk about scenarios. One, is it a possible what?
One, you said one is that, like, the cry for help.
Yes, one is the cry for help. One is a possible suicide scenario, which I doubt. I told you I doubt that that's what it could be.
Like I said, you want to pray that
It's not.
it's not.
First of all, let's be very clear. There are a lot of athletes that we've been very critical about on this show, but we would never wish anything of ill content in that way on anybody. I don't care who it is or what it is.
Oh.
But something is seriously wrong with Morant. Whatever it is, he needs to go away for a while, however long that is, indefinitely, which is the key word that it seems like the NBA likes to use, and get help.
If I think what's best right now for Ja Morant, league punishment, team punishment aside, is to basically just do what he did like after the first gun, is deactivate the social medias and just lay low profile. Let's basically get your name out of the spotlight, and then have a quiet off season where we don't hear anything about Ja Morant until it's time for next season.
The problem is, like, we always, when we look at athletes' social media accounts, we always say, oh, that was a PR, that's someone running his social media. I don't think this is someone running his social media.
No.
I think he's actually doing this stuff. Like, he did the Instagram live stuff. That was him. When these Instagram stories, these are not written in like third person, which a lot of PR people will write these things in third person. These are in first person. These posts, these are coming from him. And a lot of people say, oh, it's PR. No, you can tell when things are PR written and when they're not.
A picture of being interviewed with just the word "by" is not PR.
That's not PR. And he needs to go get help. The Grizzlies need to be on his side, telling him, you need to go get help in the worst way. Because we talked about it last week. We don't want the unfortunate, inevitable thing to happen.
Right. And it's not just like you heard my quote at the start of the intro about it's blood on and stuff. It's not just about somebody, John Morant accidentally firing off the gun and then hurting somebody else. It's also a matter of hurting himself, whether it be because of a gun, like waving a gun around, or be something like this, where his mind has basically gone to a very dark place, it seems.
Remember, he's 23 years old, or I think he is 23 years old. He's younger than we are,
Mhm.
and he just signed a $194 million extension. Now, people are going to say, "Why do you keep pointing that out?" The reason I keep pointing that out is because he's got star money. He is, even though I don't think he's the face of the NBA, he's definitely up there in the top 10 players in the NBA. There's a lot of pressure involved. And to kind of relate this back to what we were talking a little about before, LeBron. Do you remember some of the stories we heard about LeBron? All the pressure he fought, like he said he was smoking pot at one point and like doing all this stuff.
How about the pressure that's going to be on the shoes of Victor Wembanyama and Bronny Jr. when they come into the NBA?
Well, I always thought Bronny Jr. is going to have the biggest shoes to fill, and it's going to be impossible to fill, if you
How
ask me.
about we're going to go more local, relate to local wise? How about us as Yankee fans? We're talking about,
Volpe.
all the yeah, exactly, Volpe, about the pressure that was going to be on his shot, I mean, his back.
I mean, everybody thinks that Volpe needs to be the next Derek Jeter, for crying out loud. I mean, like, let the guy have a career. Like, you can't call him Derek Jeter until he, one, comes through, which, by the way, I thought that was a great moment from the other day, getting the walk-off moment, because it's not a hit, but a walk-off moment in extra innings.
Right. And the game-saving catch the half inning before that.
And by the way, like, people have been giving him shit because of all the errors he's been committing. He's a kid. He's going to make mistakes. Derek Jeter made many mistakes as a kid when he came up.
And unfortunately with the Ronnie Jr., the fact that he is a junior and it is a junior, a son to one of the greatest players, not the greatest player of all time, is going to end up, the pressure is going to be unavoidable at some point. But there has to be that realization that he is a kid and he is going to make mistakes on the court and hopefully not off the court. And here with Ja Morant, that again, he is a kid. And he now, obviously, the concerns right now are great in terms of both the things that he is doing and in that this, drastic social media activity. I think our anger more last week is that there was a lack of what is being done.
Right. And like you said, I agree with you. Get off the social media, deactivate the social media at this point, or at least put it like on hold somewhere. Change the passwords and keep them away from him. Because have you ever heard that basically if you keep justifying behavior, it's just going to keep happening?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what they're doing. They're justifying the behavior, so he's just going to keep doing it. I mean, again, I'll go back to what I said in the intro. You slapped him on the wrist. You gave him an 8-game suspension, which ended up becoming 2. And what happened? He did it again. That's Adam Silver's fault. Adam Silver's hands are bloodied from this and always will be because, thank you, it is an Adam Silver slip up because Adam Silver, since he's come into the league and handled the situation with, I don't know why I always forget his name, the Clippers owner.
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling, thank you. That he handled that perfectly when he came in the NBA.
And then it's been downhill since.
Right. Because basically it was Adam Silver saying, oh, I better handle this one correctly or else I'm not going to have a job. And look what happened. So it is what it is. And Ja Morant, he needs to be suspended for the year. I know, like, we're trying to be careful for mental health's sake, but he's got to be punished too. Adam Silver is now going to get all mushy. It's mental health. I don't want him to do anything to himself. Well, that's all well and good, but you could have done that way before after the first incident.
There's two sides to it. There is that we have to be concerned about somebody's mental health, but there is also, I don't know the word, the penance, the punishment that also has to come with the action. And then you hope that between the punishment and between what we hope is but what seems to be a cry for help, that eventually this is where Ja Morant turns things around off the court.
The other thing I would say also is, you know how sometimes when someone is a massive name or of influence, when they're going through massive struggles, the big thing that needs to happen is sometimes people need to hit rock bottom before they come back and they realize, oh, I made a mistake and I did something stupid, and then I can turn myself around and be a better person.
But that's the thing. You just got to hope that there is that time to turn things around. And hopefully for Ja, this is a situation where he recognizes it before it's too late to turn around.
I mean, here's the thing, and he's not going to realize it. He's hit rock bottom. He has absolutely hit rock bottom. 2 gun incidents, this post on social media, these Instagram stories, that's 3 incidents. And to be quite honest, that would, from me, in my opinion, that's 3 strikes and you're out, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I told you, if he did one more thing, he's got to be gone from the league. And I just don't think he has any control over himself right now at all.
But again, it's also up to Adam Silver. It's up to the people in charge to do something.
Well, first of all, Adam Silver's going to do nothing. Have we learned from all these domestic violence situations and the race situations or now gun situations? First of all, I don't know who was the commissioner when Gilbert Arenas. I think that was David Stern.
I think that had to be Stern.
Which David Stern, and this is an unfortunate pun, was more stern than Adam Silver. By far.
For all the crap that was given to Stern's second half of his commissionership, you look at some of the things where Adam Silver has been a little more lax over the last few years, and it kind of makes you miss Stern a little bit.
Adam Silver will always be a players commissioner. Always. Because he doesn't want to piss off the players, because I said it last week, the players are the sacrificial lambs that make the money for the NBA.
And there's good and bad to it. There is good in being an advocate for your players, especially when you have some of these ownership player battles. But then when you get incidents like this, there comes a point where you can't defend the player anymore.
Well, here's the problem. Adam Silver has defended the. I mean, look at the Kyrie Irving situation. He didn't handle that well at all. And that's why the media shit all over Kyrie Irving. And then Kyrie Irving basically came out with that line to Nick Friedel, basically saying, what was that phrase he used again? That you're
something my character. tarnishing.
Like tarnishing my character. No, Kyrie, you did that to yourself. And same thing with Ja. Like, again, got to be a little careful that in this situation because of mental health. But Ja's doing this to himself, unfortunately.
Again, you got to hope that there's a recognition.
Again, the first step to fixing a problem is what? Admitting you have a problem. And if you can't admit you have a problem, which Ja has not, well, in a PR statement, he came out and admitted he had a problem. That's not him admitting he had a problem. When he truly comes out and admits that he has a problem, that's when the process to a solution will happen.
Again, you have to wonder, as drastic and dark and concerning as these social media posts are, is this that message? The recognition.
He's also got to change his lifestyle. Because again...
I said that he's got to drop that friend like a bad habit last week.
Well, I wasn't just talking about that. Again, you're talking about Pact or whatever his name was.
Yes.
But Devontae Pack, who has been a bad influence on Ja with all these horrible incidents that could have killed people if that gun got waved and went off. I mean, I'll give you another example. What happens if he Plexico Burressed himself?
Yeah.
Think about what happened to Plexico after that. His career was over. And his career didn't have to be over. He could have played another 2-3 years at least, probably. But he was damaged goods after that whole incident. Now, I wouldn't call Ja damaged goods.
Absolutely not.
But I would say that mentally, the mental side of it is going to scare teams. Whether it's the Grizzlies or if they try to trade him. And they're not going to get value for him, unfortunately. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully for Ja, there's some form of restart. Speaking of restart, Brittney Griner getting to restart her WNBA career. First time playing in a WNBA game since 2021 after everything that happened with Russia. And, for all the debating that we had on this show, for all the crap given to Griner and all the scary situation and all the days in Russia and the comments, good to have her home. Good to have her home playing in a WNBA.
Yeah, I mean, she always was going to come back to the WNBA. It was just a matter of time and place. Now, we discussed this a lot, and we spent months on this story because this story went to leaps and bounds, like where we had to go and really research this story to understand it.
Yeah, well, it's like, oh, whose fault is what? The Griner having fault, what the U.S. government was or wasn't doing, the whole trade between Griner and the, what was it? What was his name? Something of death.
Oh, you're talking about the merchant of death, the prisoner swap. Yeah.
I mean, obviously that bad taste is going to linger in the mouths of quite a few people and probably will not go away.
Well, by the way, just one more aspect. Paul Whelan is still there in Russia. The guy that was stupidly captured again in Russia and has been there for 4 years. 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Brittney Griner, who was there for what, 9 months?
Something like that.
And they somehow got her out first.
Again, not so much on Griner as it is just us as an American society that goes beyond the show.
Yes. And again, we talk about a lot of things. We've talked about many controversial things, including the Grant Wall situation down in was it Egypt or
no? Where was the Qatar?
Qatar. We cover a lot of things on this show. We talk sports. We talk I wouldn't say politics, but the political angle of sports. And
we try not to talk politics, but just sometimes it's tough when political and societal issues in sports have that mixing point.
I mean, I remember when we talked, of Kaepernick, and we had to do that. When we say we've covered the gamut over the 6 years of this show, we talked about the riots. We talked about, we've talked about a lot of things. We talked about COVID in sports. I mean, we are a fairly balanced show when it comes to talking the issues in sports. And the whole Brittney Griner situation was an unfortunate one. Now, she's already come out and admitted she's not going anywhere near Russia. And I don't blame her either.
I don't blame her. I think that's smart. And you have to hope that maybe this, for the sake of what happened, the WNBA puts a little more safety and a little more, hopefully, cash in their players' pockets to prevent anything like this from happening ever again.
Well, that's the problem. And again, you know where I'm going with this.
Engelbert.
Kathy Engelbert, this is on you still. That and I said to Tom, I've said to many people on this network, if I could ever talk to like a Kathy Engelbert, I would say, why do you think your players are going over to Russia or China or Japan or Korea, wherever? Why do you think they're going to these leagues? Because they're paying 3 to 4 times what the salary is in the WNBA.
And where, again, is the NBA, their partner organization who kind of is behind everything to help all this. Again, look, I'm Adam Silver as a commissioner. I'm just sitting back here.
I do nothing. I mean, and what's ironic also, the NBA owners own some of these WNBA teams.
Yes.
That's what doesn't add up here. We remember the ridiculous story when we talked about the Nets owner. Oh, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Oh, Josiah, how he purchased the plane for the New York Liberty, and he actually got into a whole bunch of hot water with Engelbert and company.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's the Brooklyn Nets private plane, and he was willing to fly them first class. And apparently, the WNBA has rules that they can't fly private. I mean, it's his money. He can do what he wants. You're setting an awful precedent. The owner is willing to spend the money. He's willing to take it out of his own pocket, which most owners in professional sports do not do. Mm-hmm. And you made rules saying, no, penalty. You can't do that.
Meanwhile, over in Major League Baseball, we have Steve Cohen throwing money around like it's nothing. Hey, I'll sign Max Scherzer. Hey, I'll sign Justin Verlander. Hey, I'll sign Gary freaking Sanchez.
I mean, heck, he spent $800 million, which was a record of all time in free agency this past offseason. And we're not yelling at
no, but it just goes to show how you've got, one owner who's willing to throw money around, and you've got another, and the league is, obviously we have the different tax bracket now because of what Cohen has done, but you got one league where there is no limits, and then you've got a league where, like you said, Nick, that were like, oh, I'm willing to, for the benefit of my players and my team, for the sake of trying to get a championship, I will fly them first class, get them well rested. No.
That reminds me of Consuela from Family Guy. No. I mean, like, it's...
I was going for the Mutombo route.
Mutombo too. No, not today. I mean, it's just like... I don't understand. Kathy Engelbert obviously doesn't care about the players, even though she comes out and says, I care about player equality. Well, if you cared so much about player equality, we did that whole story on the Las Vegas Aces player who was pregnant, and then the team let her go, and they didn't care. I mean, so much for player equality.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, Adam Silver, step in and make this league better. Now, by the way, let me point out some positives. They have grown in ratings. They have put more money in, and it's become a better product.
Yeah, but you've got basically commissioner going after for all the wrong things. Go after, like you said, an owner who's willing to fly his team for comfort's sake, and yet don't go after, I got pregnant and fired. Well, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Well, right. And again, I think the WNBA is a much better product than it was when we started this podcast again, like 6 years ago. And now, like, the ratings are coming. ESPN and ABC are putting on WNBA games, which I think is important.
And speaking of Liberty, think about all the hype that's around the New York Liberty as a team.
I mean, they just got, oh my God. See, this is the problem. Like, I don't always remember the place because they don't market them very well. The one from Seattle that came over to New York.
You're talking, Sabrina. Oh,
No.
well, Sabrina Ionescu was the big draft pick.
Which was big for them, but yeah,
Breonna
it's
Stewart?
Breonna Stewart. Yeah. But that's insane to have Breonna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu on the same team. And I think Sabrina Ionescu got a shoe deal right out of the bat after entering the league. I mean, by the way, and rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, but the two of them got along. That's how popular Sabrina Ionescu was from college all the way into the WNBA. I mean, you're not taking advantage. This is Rob Manfred all over again with the WNBA. If you don't market your top stars, then no one wants to watch the product at all. And the WNBA has a good product. They have a lot of good teams.
And in all fairness, you got the New York Liberty broadcasting and promoting themselves on, but that's on the local market, which,
Right.
I mean, good for us here in New York and in the tri-state area, but you want to market more towards, more nationally, especially with a team with all the hype around it, like the Liberty and the star power.
So I just did the social media test. I do this all the time when we talk about the strength in numbers. The WNBA doesn't even have 1 million followers on Twitter. Okay. They have 814,000 currently as we speak. I guarantee you, if I look at Major League Baseball, which has a shitty commissioner that doesn't promote anything, if I had to take a guess before I look, it's got to be at least 4 to 5 million if I had to take a guess. Now, let's do the MLB test. Oh, I'm way off. Okay, they have almost 11 million followers.
I was gonna say I 4 or 5 was too cheap.
Okay, so MLB has 10.8. All right, since we're on this, let's do some tests. What do you think the NBA has?
If MLB has 11 million, I would say maybe for the NBA 23, 30, 35, 40 million,
Closer.
45 million.
Okay, close enough. 43.4.
The NFL's got to have an insane amount. They got to have like 70 or 80 million.
Oh, the NFL is under the NBA.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
The NFL has 33. And this is the problem, okay? The NBA social media should be promoting more of the WNBA. Think about that for a second. WNBA has 814,000 followers. The NBA has 43.
Synergy.
Yes. Imagine if they put more marketing effort because they work together. Put the stars on the NBA social media from the WNBA. Imagine what would happen. They're bigger than the NFL, the NBA, according to the social media.
But again, here are the front offices of the leagues for the NBA and WNBA.
You want to know something ridiculous? So, Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski, who we follow all the insiders, has 6 million Twitter followers. 6 million. WNBA has 814,000. We're talking about an NBA insider. Now, let me be frank. I like Woj. He does the best NBA coverage in the business, in my opinion, up there with Shams. But he shouldn't have, let's see, 800, if I'm doing the math quickly in my head. What is that, like 8 times more followers?
Something like that.
That's insane. An NBA insider has 6 million. The WNBA has 814,000.
Sad.
I'm sorry. I know this is a tangent, but it's important because the WNBA doesn't get the attention it should.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on indeed. All right. So going on to out of the NBA over to NFL. Again, we'll talk more NBA next week after Game 5 actually airs. It airs tonight, not on the night that we're recording this. So
The way the schedules have worked out.
Yeah, so we'll talk about all the conference finals and the NBA finals preview next week. Let's talk about football. The owners' meetings have officially, I think, wrapped up. So let's talk about all the different changes or lack thereof of changes for the upcoming NFL season. Thursday night football having flexes is obviously the big one. Now, with Thursday Night Football having flexes, there's obviously going to be a lot of restrictions. So it's not just, oh, we can pick and choose wherever we want. There are going to be certain rules in place. So it'll obviously only be like Sunday Night Football, week 13 to week 17. The reason it's not week 18 is because there's no Thursday Night Football week 18.
It's up in the air. Now, I just want to say one thing before you get into it. I would say flexing for Thursday Night Football approved ? Because again, technically, it's in the testing phase for what they're saying.
Yeah, so this is going to be at least a test. It's at least going to text. Let me just read from the ESPN article. The resolution passed with approval votes from 24 owners, the minimum required to enact the new rule. It will be in effect on a trial basis for the 2023 season only. If no Thursday night games are flexed, the resolution will carry over to the 2024 season. The resolution will allow the league to flip a Sunday afternoon game into Thursday night and move the originally scheduled game to Sunday afternoon during those weeks. Again, it must be a Sunday afternoon game that gets flexed. It
That's
cannot.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous because why would you move a Sunday afternoon game, which you and I know this from doing the schedules. The Sunday afternoon games are some of the worst games on the schedule.
But Nick, you can't move, say, a Sunday night or a Monday night. Obviously, I think in flex scheduling, Sunday night, Monday night are going to have they're going to have the first dibs on flexing. So,
well, obviously, I mean, Sunday night you're not moving. Monday night, now that Monday has more strength, you can't move it.
but here's where things get interesting. The NFL must file notice no later than 28 days before the game, an increase of nearly 2 weeks from an earlier proposal for flexing Thursday night football.
So I have one question though. So on that 28 day, does that mean that like right now, if the NFL is looking at the schedule that they could do this before season, or does that mean like when week 1 starts, that basically the earliest you would be able to flex a game is like week 5 because that's 4 games in?
You missed the first rule. Week 13 to 17 only. So the earliest we
Oh,
can get any notice of a flexing would be around week 8, week 9.
so then what's the point? The whole point of
I,
having a flex.
I believe it's to give more important playoff determining games to not just Sunday night football, but now stretching to Monday night and Thursday night as well.
By the way, I want to point out one more thing as well. If I'm not mistaken, Amazon is paying the most money contract-wise right now, right?
Yep.
So, and I don't understand the NFL's logical reasoning. We've been down this road for many years, not understanding the NFL's logical reasoning. If they're paying the most money, shouldn't they be getting the first choice?
But Sunday night and Monday night also are bigger products. Have longer mainstay than Thursday night football, which only came around about 15 or so years ago. And number
But
2,
yeah,
it's also logistically easier to do flexing for Sunday and Monday than it is for Thursday, which again, I guess is also why you got the 28 day maximum.
right. I'll never understand. Amazon is paying $1 billion a year, 11 years, $11 billion putting into the league. I guess technically $1 billion a year is not the highest. I guess ESPN is, I think, paying $2 billion plus. I'm sure NBC's paying that much, but I don't know. I don't understand the whole logic of flexing, but
Also, no team will be required to flex to a Thursday night game more than one time. The maximum number of Thursday night games will remain at 2 per team. Also, there will only be a maximum of 2 flexes for Thursday night football in a season, so it can only happen twice. And there's also a condition where if a team gets flexed, uh, let me give an example. Let me explain this last rule in example. So we got New York Giants at San Francisco in week 3. If the Giants get flexed to Thursday night in that week 13 to 17 frame, it must be a home game. Like no team can play 2 road Thursday night football games. They can do a home and home. They can do a home and road. They can't do road and road.
I guess that makes sense because you don't want to lose. Well, teams don't want to lose their home revenue. That makes sense for one reason.
If you're going to tire out a team by making them play on Thursday night twice in a season with the shorter breaks, then I guess at least one of them you have to at least give them the opportunity to have a home game.
My question is, like with the Jets, like say the Jets come out on fire and they go like 4-0 or 5-0. Like you're going to see them get flexed to Thursday Night Football at least once. That's just my guess because everyone wants to see Aaron Rodgers. Everyone is going to want to see Aaron Rodgers.
So, actually, funny you say that. Here are the games that are currently scheduled, week 13 to 17.
They have at least one. I know that.
Yeah. Okay. Here's week 13 to 17. Week 13 is Seattle at Dallas. Week 14 is New England at Pittsburgh.
Ugh.
Week 15 is Los Angeles Chargers at Las Vegas Raiders. Week 16, New Orleans at Los Angeles Rams. Week 17, New York Jets at Cleveland Browns.
Those all stink. They all stink. Those are all terrible games. You're going to see games getting flexed. I'm telling you that right now.
But remember, it's only a maximum of 2.
But I'm saying you're going to see at least 2 of those games get flexed.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, because that's the last game of the season. Like you mentioned, Thursday night is going to want its piece of the Aaron Rodgers pie for the season.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everyone's going to have their eyeballs on that, especially if the Jets like are playing for like first round rights. Like they're going to want to see that.
Seattle and Dallas, I doubt would get flexed. If they are the same teams they were last season that are both vying for playoff contention, I don't think that gets flexed. Chargers and Raiders is an interesting one. I guess it depends on.
I could see that getting flexed. I totally could see that getting flexed.
I totally could see it getting flexed, but I think it also depends on the Chargers. If the Chargers are having a good run under Justin Herbert, that there could be a strong playoff team. Yeah, I could see it. If the Chargers have a massive downgrade,
yeah, but I could see it. If the Raiders are a shit show, like we all think they are going to be, then that could, unfortunately, that could affect the Chargers too.
Right. Well, week 16, Saints, Rams, I see easy flex. Easy flex. I don't like either of those teams doing well this coming season.
The Saints are going to be a garbage team this year, especially if Alvin Kamara is suspended and all that nonsense.
And week 14, New England Patriots at Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's also trash.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, I like Kenny Pickett, but that's not going to be enough to keep it in Thursday Night Football.
No. Looking at some of the other rules that the NFL owners approved or lack thereof, they have tabled alternatives to the onside kick. So we've heard for a couple of years now about potential alternatives to an onside kick in order to give a team that is behind maybe something, more of a chance that they can retain possession right after scoring.
The 4th and 20.
Right. So in the XFL, they've been experimenting with the 4th and 15. They started that when the XFL 2.0 came along in 2020. They did it again here in the 2023 season. I liked it too. We saw between that 2020 brief season before COVID and this season a couple of pretty damn good comebacks thanks to that 4th and 20. I mean, that 4th and 15. The NFL, one of the NFL owners, I think it was Eagles, said, we should suggest doing this. Maybe make it a 4th and 20 to make it a little more of a challenge. And I'm for it. But apparently some of these other owners were like, no.
Yeah, because the owners who have been around for 50, 60 years, they don't want to change the tradition of the NFL game. I mean, the way we're heading right now is we're talking about, and we can talk about this too, the fair catch rule that we're talking about also, where they want to move it up from the 20 to the 25, which essentially eliminates punting, if you think about it.
I don't think it's for punts, though. I think it's only for kickoffs.
I heard it was for punts and for...
I want to double check that one.
But if that's the case, it pretty much eliminates punting, if you think about it. Because why would you take the ball if you can fair catch?
Yeah. It says fair catches on NFL kickoffs. Does this include punts?
I heard it on the radio. They said punts and kickoffs, from what I understood.
If it's punts and kickoffs, wow, that's...
You don't need a kicker. Right?
Fair
I mean,
catches are allowed anywhere inside the 25-yard line.
right. That's what's so bizarre about this whole thing, that they're saying that punts and kickoffs, fair
Oh,
catch,
touchbacks as well.
yeah, all 25.
Wow. I guess this. I
This
guess this is
eliminates the
kind of,
punt.
well, I guess what this is doing is kind of what you're trying to see in the XFL, what you're trying to see with those 3 rules in Major League Baseball, trying to maximize offense, I guess.
Well, here's the issue at hand, and I don't know if you saw it over the past couple of days, like the special teams have been going insane, saying they
Pat
don't like the rule.
McAfee lost his shit on this.
Why do you think special teams are losing their mind? It's going to affect their jobs if you eliminate the punt. And if you're fair catching at the 25, what's the use for a punter? You don't need it. If you're just going to fair catch every time, or you're going to touch back every time at 25, there's no reason to punt. There's no reason. That's why the special teams are pissed off. It's their jobs on the line.
Yeah, this one quite controversial. I want to see where this goes when the actual NFL season starts. Um, Something that was allowed. The NFL will allow a third quarterback without using game day roster spot. No injured list controversy. So you're not going to see Christian McCaffrey preparing to enter the game at quarterback anymore.
I was going to say, you might want to call this the 49ers rule in the playoffs, because we saw 4 quarterbacks essentially get hurt in a game, which I didn't think was possible. And now we're seeing this. I'm actually okay with this because player safety. Now, I question whether the NFL really cares about player safety, because that's what they are claiming for the fair catch rule. This has nothing to do with player safety. They want to take the fun out of football.
I mean, if we're talking about player safety, I think even the fact that the onside kick got rejected. I mean, wouldn't you think that a 4th and 15 or 4th and 20 play would be a little safer than doing an onside kick?
I just think it's more fun, like from a gambling aspect, because again, that's
I
what the
do,
NFL
yeah.
wants to go down. Can you imagine if you could go 4th and 15 on 4th down? Like, say you're like 4th and 30, but you had the opportunity, instead of punting, to go 4th and 15 and go for it. Makes it a lot easier choice then, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Hey, I mean, you know what I would love to see added to the NFL?
What?
Now, obviously, I don't want the special teams people to lose their jobs. So I know the XFL doesn't have kickers. They have a 1-point conversion from the 2-yard line. I wouldn't go that far. I would keep the kickers in for their sake. But I would like to see that 3-point conversion added, where you do like you know how the 2 points from the 5. I would like to see a 3-point conversion from the 10. That would be cool.
But would that eliminate the field goal?
Not necessarily, I would think.
Well, if you can run a 3-point conversion on the ground, why would you need the field goal for?
True, but I'm thinking more along the lines of, you're not gonna go. I'm thinking more along lines of trying to think against the NFL teams and the NFL coaches. You wouldn't go for a 3-point conversion at the beginning of the game and you score the first touchdown. That you still have the kicker for make it 7-0. I'm talking about the potential that you're a team that is down, let's say 30-13, and you've scored a touchdown, use the 3-point conversion, it's good. Then you get that 4th and 20, you convert that, and all of a sudden you're back in the game.
So you're talking about more alternatives to keep the game closer when it could be a blowout.
Yeah, that's what I give credit to the XFL for. As much as the ratings haven't been there, as much as it's a failed venture, maybe 2.5 times. That the fact that you liked the 3-point conversion when that was first coming around, but again,
that was good. Yeah,
but again, maybe that's because of the different product. Like the XFL has a lack of kickers.
See, the weird thing is, the XFL is kind of like the test dummy, like for the car with the test dummy in it, where they're like, all right, let's NFL wants to try new rules. All right, we'll do it. We have no problem doing it.
It's like the Atlantic League in baseball.
Right, where they were trying out the robotic umpires, which was a failed, miserable attempt. But they use these leagues, or these instructional leagues, as they like to call them, to test rules. Now, that's why they'll always have a place with the professional leagues, because they're using them as test dummies. So, you know what? Most of these rules are fine. I don't know if I like the fair catch rule, because, again, that eliminates punts. And that kind of takes the fun out of the game when you would see a guy run 100 yards across the field for a touchdown. You're not going to see that anymore.
Just a couple other things. They also announced at the owners' meeting that the 2025 NFL draft, well, we're going to be in the frozen tundra for this one. We're going up to Green Bay, to Cheesehead Land for Lambeau.
I mean, it's fine. I mean, the draft's indoors, so no one cares. But, like, I want to see them make changes, like, for the Super Bowl, go back cold weather cities. I know they're not going to do that anymore. They're pretty much going to stay in Arizona and Vegas and all that nonsense. But you know what? For Lambeau, that's kind of cool. Historic place. So I don't have a problem with this.
Speaking of Super Bowl, and speaking of, going away from cold weather, Super Bowl 60, they announced in February 2026, will take place at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, the home of the 49ers.
It's a nice stadium.
Have Levi's Stadium? I don't think the last time Super Bowl was in San Francisco was
older stadium.
That was still Candlestick, right?
Yeah.
This would be Levi's first. This would be Levi's first Super Bowl then.
Because Kaepernick was the quarterback the last time I think the Niners were in the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
But that wasn't held in San Francisco.
Oh, right. I'm just thinking of the Niners in general. Last time they were in the Super Bowl. Actually, I don't know about that. I don't remember. But you know what? This is fine. I have no problem with this. San Francisco's a big city. I think that'd be kind of fun to do some stuff there and just get away from Vegas and LA. Like, enough.
No, Levi's Levi's Stadium hosted Super Bowl 50.
Oh, maybe they did. Okay. Maybe it was when the stadium opened.
Yeah,
maybe they did.
It had to be right after that. It was either the first or second season of Levi's Stadium. So they held 50, they held 60. You know, that means Levi's Stadium will probably host Super Bowl 70 as well.
That sounds about right.
Every 10 years.
You know, right. Again, I don't have a problem with it. It's a nice stadium. It's clean. And, hey, we got Vegas. The Raiders got a Super Bowl before everybody else. Unfortunately, their team stinks.
The Super Bowl in Las Vegas is going to be quite the show to watch.
We'll see.
All right. Speaking of Las Vegas, they have a new minority owner, and his name is Tom Brady. Yes, Tom Brady is back. Not as a player, though. As a coach. I mean, as an owner.
Close enough. It's LeBron James syndrome. It does everything. I mean, again, he tried to get into ownership. I mentioned this to Tom before we started. That's why the Miami Dolphins lost their first-round pick. I mean, because he tried to get into ownership, and apparently someone squealed, and that ended that. And am I surprised? No. No one knows how much he actually owns. Part of the story, though, is Mark Davis also owns the Las Vegas Aces, and Tom Brady already had a piece of the Las Vegas Aces. So that's not a surprise to me whatsoever. Now, there is a conflict of interest rule when it comes to being a broadcaster and being an owner. Now, he's a hands-off owner. He basically just bought in. So I guess technically that's allowed. Now, with all this stuff, he's going to be going back to New England for the retirement ceremony. I don't think he has any interest being a broadcaster. I really don't.
I was questioning, in the first place. I thought it would be very interesting to have Tom Brady as a broadcaster, and get to hear his stories and hear his mindset. But I guess I was taken a little bit by surprise when Fox came to him with that kind of deal. And I don't know, I don't know if he ever does go into broadcasting, because I think he'll be more focused on this. Now, say a Derek Jeter, who we know the mess that happened in Miami, the fact that he got out of there and now he can go into the broadcast booth for even if it's just for a few games. I think for Jeter's sake, that's much better than, it's a better fit than, say, Tom Brady in the broadcast booth.
Oh, right. And you go back to the whole Romo situation. in the booth and see how that turned out. Like for the first couple of years, it was fine. They put him in the booth. Oh, he predicted the future of all the plays on the field, and they paid him $120 million, CBS, and then he was trying to fight for more money. Apparently, they did, and they're getting sick of him and all that nonsense.
Oh, I don't know if this is a good idea, Nick.
Oh God. And then, I mean, think about Phil Simms. Phil Simms was in the booth. He was the big name for a while, and then the fact just said we had enough of your shit. Go in the go into the studio,
Yeah.
and we don't have to deal with you. Because apparently, like he was a little bit of a nasty, you know what, at one point in the booth.
All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger making some interesting comments toward an admission toward Kenny Pickett. I think this was on a podcast that he basically said when Kenny Pickett first came in. Obviously, last season with Kenny Pickett's first season, the first season in Pittsburgh without Ben Roethlisberger following his retirement after the 2021 season. Roethlisberger apparently didn't want Kenny Pickett to succeed at first, and he expressed regret for that.
I mean, this is not a surprise if that's what you're asking. I mean, like
leader of men.
Yeah, really. I think Kenny Pickett will have way more ability than Ben Roethlisberger does because Kenny Pickett can at least move out of the pocket. Now, unfortunately, he had the concussions, which was a problem. But Ben Roethlisberger had injuries too, including an unfortunate incident with a motorcycle. But I don't know.
You gotta hope that maybe Kenny Pickett won't have the off the field kind of issues that Ben Roethlisberger had, whether it be the certain incident from I think it was the late 2000s, early 2010s, or all the controversy, all the drama that happened in the locker room in his last 4 or 5 seasons in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Let's be clear. Ben Roethlisberger is probably going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
But we can't dispute the off the field shit that he did.
All the baggage that he had.
And trust me, there was a lot of baggage on that airplane. So again, good quarterback, but unfortunately, as we've learned over the years, NFL quarterbacks have baggage in more ways than one. So I think Kenny Pickett in the long run will catch up to Ben Roethlisberger. I think hopefully when they're starting to build a nice young team there, and hopefully they'll win a few Super Bowls, and then we won't have to hear about Ben Roethlisberger anymore.
You know who we don't have to hear from anymore, Nick? Glen Kuiper. Because update to a story that we talked about a week or so ago with the Oakland Athletics, soon to be Las Vegas Athletics. Glen Kuiper referred to the Negro League Hall of Fame as, well, let's say the other N-word. And after being basically pulled and suspended indefinitely, he has now officially been fired.
Yeah, I mean, again,
are we going to hit you on the ass on the way out?
Exactly. I was also going to say, are we really shocked by this whole decision made by the A's? No. Now, the one thing I'll give credit to Major League Baseball for, now we don't know if Rob Manfred was behind this, so we can't make that assumption. But MLB is pretty spot on. When you do something off, either on the field or off the field, they're pretty spot on about it right away. Whether it's domestic violence or racial stuff or sexual abuse or Aroldis Chapman, I'm looking at you. Jose Reyes, I'm looking at you. I can make a whole list out of that. Yeah. But MLB is pretty spot on when it comes to those type of issues. Everything else, that's a mystery box. But these situations, they're pretty spot on. Now, they're saying fired by the A's. So obviously the A's were on top of this. We haven't heard a statement. Has Rob Manfred come out and made a single statement about this at all? So far, I've heard nothing.
I'll look around to double check and make sure that there has been nothing.
I just, because something's not right. Because usually you get the ceremonial PR Rob Manfred statement that says, unfortunately, we're sorry to see Glen Kuiper go.
There is an MLB.com story. Let's see. NBC Sports California issued a statement saying The decision has been made for NBC Sports California to end its relationship with Glen Kuiper effective immediately. We thank Glen for his dedication to Bay Area baseball over the years. Kuiper, this was his statement through NBC Sports, NBC, NBC SBA.
Which means it's PR. That's
Right. I
why.
could not be more sorry and horrified by what I did. I hope you'll accept my sincerest apologies. A's statement, the language used by Glen Kuiper during today's pregame broadcast is unacceptable. This was on the day of the thing. The Oakland Athletics do not condone such language. We are working to address the situation. We had the Bob Kendrick statement, which we talked about when the story originally broke. No, nothing from Rob Manfred.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do this
on.
because what? Oh yeah, that. Leave that up because.
Nothing from Rob Manfred. Nothing from Major League Baseball.
Oh wait. I mean, just put a nail in the coffin of the A's at this point. I mean, we weren't even going to do the other part of the A's story, but they officially have a land deal now with Nevada. And listen to this. Nevada is supplying $1.5 billion.
Oh, hang on a minute. Is that another money? Is that another money story?
Yes. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable to me because Nevada's getting behind them and giving the A's owner money.
Well, what is it all about again, Nick?
Money. It's all about the money, money, money. It's all about the money, money, money. Yes. Right. It's, you know what? Put a nail in the coffin of the A's, and unfortunately, the A's fans are going to have to deal with this for another year. I mean, how many fans are we seeing at O.co Coliseum? 1,000 to 3,000 fans?
Not enough to the point where, Nick, you might want to go over there next month.
I was thinking about it, but I don't know if I'll have time. But basically, I'll give you a for instance quickly. I looked up tickets at O.co Coliseum for the Yankee games. Sitting all the way behind home plate was $120.
That's actually not bad considering some of the prices at Yankee Stadium.
I'm talking about literally like you could see you're sitting first row of the whole stadium. $120.
That's nuts.
That's crazy, right? And you're probably going to see more fans show up for the Yankee games, though, if I had to take a guess. It's going to be all Yankee fans, but it is what it is. All right, I'm done ranting now.
Speaking of the Yankees and speaking of nail in the coffin, well, Aaron Hicks' time in New York appears to be over. Aaron Hicks has been designated for assignment by the Yankees following their acquisition of Greg Allen, which I think, Nick, it's great to have Greg Allen back in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I said this last night. I was in Toronto. I saw him actually get a hit when he was still in the line. I was like, oh my God, he got a hit. But he had to go. He's still going to get $20 million. That's his consolation prize since baseball, everything is guaranteed.
Obviously, the Yankees were still trying to trade him. Imagine if we see Aaron Hicks in Scranton Wilkes-Barre next.
Oh God, no. But think about that. MLB, the consolation prize. Oh, I just got cut because I stink. Oh, I'm still owed $20 million. Okay.
I mean, I hated the contract when they gave it to him originally in 2018, 2019.
You know what's funny though? That was a player-friendly contract.
And I still hate it.
Actually, excuse me, I said the wrong thing. That's a franchise-friendly contract.
Yeah.
7 years, $70 million. I misspoke. But yeah, 7 years, $70 million now is crazy. That's value. I mean, until he got hurt. But believe it or not, that's actually a franchise.
I understand it's franchise friendly. At the same time, I wasn't sure if he was worth the $10 million per year. Plus, I didn't know if his stretch was going to continue on into 2023, 24, 25, and well, it didn't. He wasn't.
You know what's funny though? Like in Major League Baseball, the most important part of your career is just signing the large contract. You don't have to finish it though, because you know you're just going to get paid anyway. So, by the way, the end part of this is for people who are watching on the video side of this. By the way, thank you if you're watching on the video side. For the audio side, we'll explain what is on the banner, which is PGA Tour Possible.
PGA Tour Possible, yeah.
So you want to explain that?
Okay,
or should I?
So there was a story that came out not too long before he got DFA'd by the Yankees, and it came from NJ.com. I think it was Brandon Cody, and
Who covers the Yankees? Yeah,
right. And it basically talked about Hicks's love for golf and the PGA Tour, and he basically said, "Oh, maybe one day I can do the PGA Tour." I mean, now he has the. Let me be serious. I've got a feeling that Aaron Hicks is going to find another team. That there's going to be a team that will take a flyer on him for the major league minimum. But it wouldn't be it would be kind of funny if he got the opportunity to do any PGA events in the meantime.
You know what though? You know where I would send him?
Guangdong Tigers. Ni hao! Ni hao! Ni hao!
Are you saying you want to see Aaron Hicks on a basketball court? Because that didn't work well for Aaron Boone.
Well, good point. I see what you did there. But no, I'm just send him to China to play baseball. Well, don't send him to Japan. It hasn't worked out for Trevor Bauer.
The fact that Trevor Bauer got demoted to the Japanese minor leagues.
Unbelievable. I mean,
how bad does it have to go for? No disrespect to the Nippon League or any of the Japanese baseball, but how bad does it have to go for Trevor Bauer, who Nick at one point was one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, to go to Japan and get demoted there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I knew Trevor Bauer's career was going to take a downturn. I mean, I think it's partially karma for the way he acted after the whole domestic violence situation. But
yeah,
whatever.
Oh, all right. Before we go, plug time. A lot of
is it the end? Wait a minute, it's the end of the episode already?
Yes.
Holy shit.
We've
okay.
been here for over an hour and a half.
It didn't feel like an hour and a half. That's what's so funny about it. But yeah, we have a lot of. Now we can make some announcements because now that stuff is signed, sealed, and delivered. Yes. For people who can't see this on the screen, on the audio side, we have a new show and some backstory. We were actually talking about bringing this show quite a few months ago, while ago. And now it's here. The 3&D with Paul Lombardi premieres Monday, May 29th at 5 p.m. Eastern. The social medias are on the screen. We'll post them more just for everyone on the audio side who can see. Paul's a good guy. He was over at a network, which we're not talking about anymore here. And he's coming over here. The 3&D is an NBA and college basketball show. So if you're a NBA nerd like me and a college basketball nerd like a lot of the people we have on this network, you will enjoy it. He is very knowledgeable on both sides. We're going to do a lot of things eventually. I know I'm looking way ahead, but I think he'll be good with March Madness. We're going to do a live stream for the NBA Finals coming up for one of the games. That's the plan.
To be determined.
We are going to try to do the NBA draft, TBD, but I think we're going to do night one. So a lot in the works as we keep adding some stuff. And he's going to write some blogs as well. I spoke to him already. I think he's going to do an NBA draft board, breaking down all the big name players. Like I said, he'll preview the NBA Finals when we know both teams. And I'm looking forward. This is going to be, again, Mondays at 5 p.m. Doubleheader action on Monday. The 3&D and Fruity Cereal, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and my turn to plug. As I announced on the MMA Outsiders yesterday morning, MMA Outsiders for the summer, Zan and I are going to go back to our original Tuesday morning air slot beginning this Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial kickoff this summer. And part of that, why? Well, the announcement of a new series, limited weekly series. It's a seasonal thing. We've got Tough Enough, the Ultimate Fighter Aftermath. It is a recap of every episode of The Ultimate Fighter. So Ultimate Fighter Season 31 will feature Michael Chandler and Nick, your favorite guy and mine, the one and only notorious Conor McGregor. Who did you think?
Oh my God!
No, I wasn't thinking. That's who I was thinking.
So it's gonna be the season is gonna start this Tuesday, May 30th, 10 p.m. Eastern on linear ESPN, not ESPN Plus, not any ESPN 2 or news. No, the actual ESPN channel.
Here, wait a minute.
Oh my God!
And then after that episode airs, once it goes off the air around 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 p.m. Central Time, you can join Zan and I for weekly live streams here on the Empty the Bench Network, where we will break down and recap the whole episode from the fight, the Ultimate Fighter fight that airs every week, the one fight they have in the Octagon for the little tournament, to any drama that goes on in the Ultimate Fighter house, because it's a reality show and all that testosterone. You know something's going to blow up. And if any crap goes down between McGregor and Chandler, because you know if Conor McGregor, crap is going to go down.
Of course.
We'll talk about it on that show as well.
I mean, of course, it's reality, and it's Conor McGregor. Conor is like the perfect reality show type of guy. It's like a perfect fit.
Second time hosting the Ultimate Fighter. He hosted back in 2015 too.
No, this is going to be good. How many episodes do you think you're going to get out of this? You think?
10, maybe an additional one for the finale. Obviously, the premiere of the show is May 30th. And I think the last episode airs August 15th. And then you're going to have the tough finale fights, which will take place on a card in August or September, TBD, whenever the UFC wants to announce that.
And these are actually going to be on TV.
Yes.
For a change.
Yes, the Ultimate Fighter is actually going to be on TV, not ESPN Plus, like it's been the last couple of seasons since it's been revived under ESPN.
Oh, so Dana actually came to his senses.
Well, I mean, it's Conor McGregor. You're not going to pass up the opportunity to get Conor McGregor. That's ratings, baby.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know. Is this the precursor of Conor being back?
Yes. The expectation, as Zan and I talked about, is he'll re-enter the USADA pool, and it'll be likely he and Chandler will fight in December in the last pay-per-view of the year.
Again, even someone like me who doesn't know it, like, that's not a shocker. I mean, he's going to get big money too, I'm guessing, right?
Probably.
What do you think? You think it's going to be like millions upon millions?
Probably.
And he's not going to fight Chandler though, right?
Oh, it's going to be Chandler. It's the coach.
Oh, is that why? That's why the two of them are.
Yeah.
You know what? I would almost want to watch that. Oh, I know you two are going to be watching it.
Oh yes, I will probably. It'll be near Christmas time. I'll probably have all my Christmas decorations up and I'll have the big bowl of popcorn as I'm watching Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler duke it out in the last.
Even though you hate Conor in every way, shape, or form.
I know, but it's my job as MMA media, Nick.
Well, all right, I'll give you one, and then we'll go. Who's worse, McGregor or LeVar Ball?
LeVar Ball by a mile.
Wow, really?
Conor McGregor has at least accomplished things. What has LeVar Ball done?
I just meant, wait a minute. Throw the accomplishments out the door. I'm talking about personality and being out in the public.
Conor McGregor is a nuisance, but that's also because, again, I work in MMA media. I don't work in basketball media, but LeVar Ball has also died down. We don't have to hear undefeated, never lost.
Well, no, you just had to buy me proper 12. All right.
Let's get out of here.
That just about does it for episode 185 of Empty the Bench. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us on ETB Network at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on YouTube and subscribe, youtube.com/ETB Network. Our website as well, etbsports.com, for all the blogging content and everything else we'll get you up to date on. Make sure you follow the 3&D as well for our new show with Paul Lombardi. And yeah, I think that just about does it. I think I've done enough plugging for this episode.
If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget you could take Empty the Bench and all of its shows on the road with you, so you don't have to see myself and Nick's faces. Go to Acast, go to all the audio only podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, more, And if you are listening on those audio-only podcasts, make sure to check out the video feed as well on YouTube.
Yeah, we're approaching 400 subscribers. Help us get to 1,000. The closer you get us to 1,000, the more we can be monetized, the more content we can bring.
Exactly. All right. That's Nick. I'm Tom. That's how you do a close, Dan. That's how you do a close.
Oh, my God. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 186.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mike.